You ever have one of those moments where your entire reality shifts in the span of like 10 seconds? Yeah, that happened to me last summer. And honestly, I still don't know how to process it. It all started because my best friend, Tyler, asked me to house sit for him while he went on a week-long trip to Hawaii with his girlfriend. Now, Tyler and I have been best friends since high school. He's the classic golden boy. Athletic, easygoing, insanely charming. The type of guy who could walk into a room full of strangers and walk out with 10 new friends and a job offer. And yeah, straight as an arrow. Or at least, that's what I always thought. I was the opposite. Quieter, artsy, more comfortable behind a camera than in front of people. We balanced each other out, I guess. We were always inseparable. And yes, okay, maybe I'd had a bit of a crush on him back in high school, but I buried it. Deep. Because Tyler was straight. Always had been. Or so I thought. Anyway, back to last summer. Tyler had just bought this gorgeous townhouse. Open floor plan, massive kitchen, a living room with floor-to-ceiling windows. It was the kind of place that made you either insanely proud of your friend or just slightly hate him for having his life together. "Dude, you're a lifesaver," Tyler said, tossing me the keys while we stood in his kitchen the day before he left. "Just water the plants, bring in the mail, and try not to snoop through my stuff." I smirked. "No promises." He laughed, nudging my shoulder. "Nah, seriously. Thanks again." "You sure you're good? It's a whole week." "Yeah, man, it's chill. Free food, free Netflix, a better couch than mine. I'm living the dream." "True," he grinned. "Help yourself to anything. Mi casa es su casa." Simple enough, right? The first few days were uneventful. I worked remotely from his kitchen table, binged a ton of TV, and ordered way too much takeout. It was actually kind of nice, quiet, peaceful, no drama, until Thursday night. I was half asleep on the couch, scrolling through TikTok with the TV playing some random cooking show in the background when I heard the front door unlock. For a second, I thought I imagined it. Tyler wasn't supposed to be back until Sunday. But no, the door swung open, and there he was, Tyler. Except, not how I expected. His suitcase was still in the doorway. His hoodie was half zipped, his hair was a mess, and he looked, God, wrecked. Tired, flushed, like he'd been running on zero sleep for days. Dude? I sat up, blinking. "Aren't you supposed to be on a beach right now?" He ran a hand through his hair, looking everywhere but at me. "Yeah. Change of plans." I paused, waiting for him to elaborate, but he didn't. He kicked off his shoes, walked past me, and flopped down on the couch like he lived there. Which, fair, he did. But something was off. "Everything okay?" I asked. He didn't answer right away. Just sat there, staring at his hands. His knee bounced nervously. Then finally, after what felt like an eternity, he sighed. "Me and Jenna, we broke up." My eyebrows shot up. "What? What happened?" "It's complicated," he muttered, rubbing the back of his neck. I don't know, man. Everything's been feeling wrong lately. Like, all of it. I thought this trip would help, but it just made it worse." I sat there, unsure what to say. I'd never seen him like this. Not Tyler. He was always the confident one, the steady one. Seeing him unravel like this, it felt surreal. "You want to talk about it?" I asked, my voice softer now. He glanced at me then, really looked at me, and something shifted in his expression. Something softer. Something different. "Actually, yeah," he said, "but not here. Not like this." He stood up, pacing, running both hands through his hair like he was trying to physically shake off whatever was weighing him down. And then, without warning, he turned, stepped right up to me, and said something I swear I will never forget for the rest of my life. "Can I ask you something? And I need you to be honest." My mouth went dry. Sure," His jaw tightened. His eyes searched mine, like he was wrestling with whether or not to actually say it. Have you ever thought about me differently? The air left my lungs. What do you mean? You know what I mean. Silence. Heavy, suffocating, charged. Yeah, I admitted, barely more than a whisper. Yeah, I have. And then he nodded, like he just confirmed something to himself. Good, he said quietly, because the next thing I knew, he was closing the space between us. For a second, a long, breathless second, I thought maybe I was dreaming, or hallucinating, or maybe I'd fallen asleep watching Netflix and this was some weird wish fulfillment fever dream. But no, this was real. Tyler was right there, standing so close I could feel the heat coming off his skin. His breathing was shallow, uneven, and his eyes, God, his eyes were locked onto mine like he was terrified of what he was about to do, but even more terrified not to do it. I swallowed. Tyler, what are you? I don't know. He cut me off, his voice rough. I don't know what the hell I'm doing. I can't stop thinking about it. He let out a shaky breath, looking down, shaking his head like he was mad at himself. About you. About this. About if there's something here. The silence between us was so loud it felt like it had weight. I could hear my heartbeat pounding in my ears, could feel every molecule of air shift between us. Tyler, my voice cracked. Are you serious right now? He laughed, sharp, nervous, not really funny. Yeah, apparently. I stood up, slowly, like any sudden movement might break the moment. But you've never... Yeah, I know, he interrupted, looking frustrated. I've never thought about guys like this before. Ever. But I don't know, man. It's like the last few months, every time I see you, it's like my head just stops working. I stared at him, my brain struggling to catch up to the words coming out of his mouth. Why didn't you say anything before? I asked, voice barely above a whisper. He rubbed his hands over his face, pacing again. Because I didn't know what the hell was happening. I didn't want to screw things up. You're my best friend, man. I kept telling myself it was just nothing. Just a phase. Something stupid my brain cooked up. But it wouldn't go away. He stopped pacing then, turning to face me fully. His chest was rising and falling too fast. And then I saw you here, in my space, on my couch, wearing my stupid hoodie, like you've always belonged here. And it broke something in me. I looked down. I hadn't even realized I was wearing his hoodie until he said it. I'd grabbed it off the back of a chair earlier because the AC was blasting. It smelled like him, like laundry detergent and that stupid sandalwood cologne he always wore. I don't know what any of this means, he continued, softer now. I don't know what it says about me. His voice trailed off. Then he stepped closer. Slow. Careful. Testing. His hand hovered in the air for a moment like he was second-guessing himself. But then it landed. On my jaw. Fingers tentative but warm, curling gently, thumb brushing the corner of my mouth. Tell me to stop, he whispered, his voice cracking. And I swear, I will. I didn't. I couldn't. Instead, my hand came up, almost without thinking, and pressed against his chest. His heart was pounding. Fast. Wild. I don't want you to stop, I whispered back. For a second, we just stood there, breathing, watching each other, both of us teetering on the edge of something huge, something terrifying. Then, like a dam breaking, he closed the last inch between us. His lips hit mine, hesitant, searching, almost like he couldn't believe he was actually doing it. But when I kissed him back, When my fingers twisted into the front of his hoodie, pulling him closer, everything about him shifted. He pressed harder. His other hand came up, sliding around the back of my neck, gripping like he was afraid I'd vanish if he let go. His lips were warm, softer than I ever imagined, but desperate, like he'd been holding this back for way too long. I gasped against his mouth, and he took that as an invitation, tilting his head, deepening the kiss until it was less about figuring it out and more about giving in. When we finally broke apart, both of us breathless, he rested his forehead against mine. "Holy shit," he mumbled. "Yeah," I agreed, my voice shaking. "Holy shit." For a long moment, neither of us said anything, just stood there, breathing each other in. Then he laughed. This small, disbelieving laugh. "What the hell are we doing?" I shook my head, grinning like an idiot. I have no idea, but deep down, I didn't want it to stop. For a moment, all we could do was stare at each other, half smiling, half terrified, like neither of us could believe what just happened. Tyler's thumb was still absent-mindedly brushing along my jawline, like he hadn't even realized he hadn't moved his hand. I felt electric, dizzy, like every nerve in my body had been rewired. But then reality started to creep back in. Tyler took a tiny step back. Not far, but enough. Enough that I felt the air cool where his body had been pressed against mine. His hands dropped to his sides, and he dragged them down his jeans like he needed to ground himself. "Dude," he muttered, shaking his head. I seriously don't know what the hell I'm doing." "Yeah," I said, my voice quieter than I meant it to be. "Same." A beat passed. Neither of us moved. Then another. The silence started to stretch, heavy with all the things neither of us knew how to say. "I didn't plan this," Tyler finally blurted, running his hands through his hair like he was ready to rip it out. "I swear to God, I didn't come back thinking I was gonna, He gestured vaguely between us. "Do that?" "I know," I said. "Trust me, that makes two of us." He started pacing again, classic Tyler move. Hands on his hips, head down, muttering to himself like the ground was gonna give him answers. This is insane. What the hell does this even mean?" I watched him for a second, my chest tight. "It doesn't have to mean anything right now," I said carefully. "We don't have to define it or figure it out tonight." He stopped pacing, turned to look at me. "You're really okay with that? Not knowing?" I shrugged, even though my heart was hammering. "I mean, I spent the last 6 years convincing myself nothing would ever happen between us. So yeah, I'm weirdly prepared for not knowing." That made him laugh. A small, shaky laugh. But it was real. He walked back over, sitting next to me on the couch. Close, but not touching this time. Like he was still trying to figure out what the rules were now. He started, staring down at his hands. "I feel like I've spent so long trying to be the person everyone expected me to be. The guy with the right job, the right girlfriend, the right life. And lately, it's like none of it feels right anymore. Like, not just with Jenna. With everything." I stayed quiet, letting him talk, letting him work it out in real time. "And then there's you," he went on, softer now. "Always. Here. Always. You." And I kept telling myself it wasn't anything. That it was just, "You're my best friend. Of course I care about you." But it started feeling different, and it freaked me the hell out. "Why didn't you say anything?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. "Because I didn't want to mess this up," he said immediately. "Us. You've always been the most important person in my life. More than anyone. More than Jenna. More than anyone." His hand shifted, fingers brushing against mine. Testing, checking if I'd pull away. I didn't. "I don't know what this makes me," he whispered, "or what it means. I just know. Being near you feels better than being anywhere else." My breath hitched. "Yeah, same." Slowly, cautiously, his fingers laced with mine. It was tentative, clumsy, like someone testing out a language they'd never spoken before. But it felt right, like it had always been waiting to happen. "I don't want this to be a mistake," Tyler said, barely more than a whisper. "It's not," I answered immediately. "Not to me." His shoulders slumped with relief. He squeezed my hand and let out this shaky little breath like he'd been holding it for hours. "Thank God." For a while, we just sat like that, hand in hand, not saying much. The tension that had been choking the air between us slowly melted into something softer, something warmer. Then, completely deadpan, Tyler said, "So, does this mean I gotta start watching RuPaul's Drag Race now?" I snorted, shoving his shoulder. "Dude, shut up." He grinned, brighter now, that familiar cocky smile I knew so well, but softer somehow. Different. "Just checking," he said. "You know, for research. Idiot. Yars." He shot back, grinning wider. That made me pause. Yars. The word hung in the air between us. Heavy. Real. And, for the first time, it didn't feel scary. It felt right. We sat there for a while, tangled fingers resting on the couch cushion between us. Neither of us in a rush to move. The TV was still playing in the background, some random episode of MasterChef, but neither of us was paying attention. It was weird. Or actually, it should have felt weird. But it didn't. It felt natural. Tyler's thumb was tracing lazy circles over the back of my hand, like it was the most normal thing in the world. Every now and then, he'd glance over at me, and when I'd catch him, he'd look away quickly, smiling like a kid getting caught doing something he wasn't supposed to. "So," he finally said, breaking the quiet, what happens now?" I laughed under my breath. "Dude, you think I have a manual for this?" "Well," he grinned, bumping his knee into mine, "statistically, you've got more experience in this department than I do." "Oh my God," I groaned, laughing. "It's not like there's a secret gay playbook, Tyler." Damn. There goes that fantasy. I shoved him lightly and he laughed. A real, genuine laugh that settled something deep in my chest. God, I'd missed that. Missed seeing him happy like that. But then the smile faded just a bit and he got quieter. "Hey, can I ask you something? And be honest." "Of course. Were you ever into me? Like, before this?" My stomach flipped. "Tyler, it's okay," he said quickly, squeezing my hand. "You can be honest. I think I kinda always wondered, maybe not consciously, but something about it feels like I should have known, or maybe part of me did." I sighed, letting my head fall back against the couch. Yeah, I was. Back in high school mostly. It sucked. Thought I'd never get over it. "And did you?" he asked, quieter now. I turned my head to look at him. "I thought I did. Or maybe I just got really good at pretending." Tyler nodded slowly, his thumb still moving over my skin. "Yeah, I think I got good at pretending too, but for different reasons." I tilted my head. "Like what?" He blew out a breath. "Like, pretending I had it all figured out, pretending I was the guy everyone thought I was. The straight dude with the cute girlfriend, the job, the house, all of it. And it's not like I was lying exactly. I liked girls. Still do, I guess." He paused, then shook his head. "But it's like I didn't realize what was missing until I started seeing it. With you, noticing how easy it was to be around you. How it felt different, better. Jesus, I whispered, my chest tightening. You have no idea how long I wished you'd say something like that. He looked down, smiling softly. Yeah, same. A pause. Then, you staying here tonight? He asked, like it was the most casual thing in the world. I blinked. I mean, yeah, I was house sitting, remember? Yeah, just, wanted to make sure. Why? He smirked, but there was this nervousness behind it, like he was daring himself to keep going. Because I was kind of hoping you'd stay. Like, with me. I stared. Tyler, not, like, anything crazy. His voice dropped. I don't really want to be alone right now. My heart just about exploded. I squeezed his hand. Yeah, I'll stay. A breath of relief left his lungs like he'd been holding it for hours. Cool. He nodded, trying to sound casual, but his ears were turning pink. You wanna go upstairs? I bit back a grin. Yeah, lead the way. He stood, pulling me up with him, and didn't let go of my hand as we climbed the stairs to his bedroom. When we got inside, he flipped the light on, then hesitated, like the reality of it was just now catching up. He scratched the back of his neck, awkward. I usually sleep on the left side, I smiled, walking over to the bed. Good, I always take the right. That made him laugh, a soft, relieved sound, and he walked over, pulling back the covers. For a second, we just stood there on either side of the bed, both of us weirdly shy all of a sudden, despite everything that had happened downstairs. Tyler, I said. Voice softer now. It's okay, we don't have to figure it all out tonight. He nodded, stepping around the bed toward me. His hand came up, cupping the side of my face again, thumb brushing my cheekbone. Yeah, he whispered, but can I? I didn't even wait for him to finish the question. I leaned in, catching his mouth with mine. This kiss was slower, less frantic, softer. It was exploration, not desperation. His hand settled on my waist, mine slid around his neck. We stood there for a long time, just kissing, figuring it out, letting the world outside that room disappear. When we finally pulled back, breathless, he rested his forehead against mine. I can't believe this is real, he murmured. Yeah, I whispered back. Me either. We climbed into bed, clumsy, awkward, laughing at how weird it felt at first. But the second I curled into his side, his arms sliding naturally around me, it wasn't weird anymore. It felt right, like it had always been meant to happen. As I drifted off, his hand tracing idle shapes against my back, I heard him whisper into my hair. Hey, I don't know what this is yet, but I know one thing. I smiled against his chest. What? I'm not letting you go. I woke up before him. For a second, I didn't even remember where I was. My brain was still hazy, caught somewhere between sleep and the weird disbelief of everything that happened the night before. Then I shifted slightly and felt the solid weight of Tyler's arms still draped across my waist, his chest warm and steady against my back. Oh, yeah. Not a dream. I turned my head slowly, careful not to wake him, and just looked at him for a minute. His face was relaxed in a way I almost never saw. No smirk, no teasing glint in his eye. Just peaceful. His hair was a mess, flopping over his forehead, and his lips were parted slightly as he breathed, slow and even. It hit me then. How normal this felt. How natural. And how completely insane that was. This was Tyler, my best friend. The same guy who used to throw fries at me during lunch in high school. The same guy who'd helped me move into my first crappy apartment and then proceeded to break my only decent lamp. The same guy who once convinced me to jump into a freezing lake in January just because he dared me to. And now, we were here. His fingers twitched against my side, tightening slightly, and I realized he was waking up. He mumbled, his voice rough and scratchy with sleep. "You're still here." "Yeah," I whispered, smiling. "Still here." "Good," he mumbled again, burying his face against the back of my neck like he was trying to hide from the morning. "It's good," I laughed quietly. "Dude, you are such a cuddler." "Shut up," he groaned, squeezing me tighter. "You love it." Not denying it. For a few minutes, we just lay there, quiet, breathing. His fingers traced idle patterns against my stomach, slow and gentle like he wasn't even fully aware he was doing it. Then, eventually, he sighed and shifted, rolling onto his back and stretching his arms above his head. "God," he groaned, "I haven't slept that good in I don't even know how long." I rolled onto my side, propping my head up on one hand. "Yeah? Maybe your body is trying to tell you something." He turned his head to look at me, his expression softer than I'd ever seen. "Yeah, maybe it is." For a second, we just looked at each other. No teasing, no jokes. Just this weird, heavy electric thing sitting between us, like the weight of realizing this wasn't just a one-time thing. "Hey," he said suddenly, pushing up onto his elbows. "Do you regret it? Last night?" I didn't even hesitate. No, not for a second. His shoulders sagged with visible relief. "Yeah, me neither." Then, almost shyly, he reached out and tucked a piece of hair behind my ear. I know this is all kind of fast and weird and not what either of us expected, but I don't want to pretend it didn't happen. I don't want to act like it was nothing." My heart thudded against my ribs. "Yeah, same. I don't know what it looks like yet," he continued. "I don't have a label for it. I'm still figuring it out. But I know I don't want this to be just one night or one mistake." "It's not a mistake," I said softly. "It never was." A small smile tugged at his lips. "Good, 'cause I don't think I can go back to pretending anymore." He leaned in, pressing a slow, careful kiss to my mouth. Softer than last night, less frantic, like he was savoring it now. When we pulled apart, I grinned. "So, what now?" "Well," he flopped back onto the pillows, arm behind his head, grinning lazily. "Step 1, breakfast." I laughed. "Solid plan." "Step 2, he glanced over at me, his grin shifting into something softer. "Figure this out. Together." "Yeah." I scooted closer, resting my head against his chest. "I'm in." His hand found mine again, fingers lacing together like it was the most natural thing in the world. "Yeah," he said quietly, pressing a kiss to the top of my head. "Me too." Tyler insisted on making breakfast, which honestly was kind of hilarious, because Tyler's idea of cooking usually involved either a microwave or his DoorDash app. But this morning, he was on a mission. Pancakes, eggs, bacon, the full spread. I sat on a bar stool at the kitchen island, just watching him move around the kitchen like someone trying really hard to look like they had it all figured out. He was wearing that same hoodie I'd stolen the night before, and every time he turned around, he'd catch me staring and just grin. "Stop looking at me like that," he said, cracking an egg into the pan. "Like what?" "Like you're impressed," I laughed. "Dude, if you manage not to burn the house down, I will be impressed." "Rude," he grinned. But fair. It was surreal. How easy it felt. How natural. There was this part of me that had always imagined it. The fantasy version, you know? Where he wakes up one day, realizes he's been in love with me this whole time, and everything just magically works out. But this was better. Because it was real, messy, complicated, unscripted, and yet perfect. When breakfast was done, we sat at the table, eating and laughing, stealing bites off each other's plates like we'd done a million times before. Except now, it meant something different, something more. In between mouthfuls of pancakes, Tyler glanced at me, his expression shifting into something more serious. Hey, about last night. About us. I set my fork down, giving him my full attention. Yeah? He leaned forward, resting his forearms on the table. I meant what I said. I don't want this to be confusing, or something we pretend didn't happen once the adrenaline wears off. Neither do I. I know I've got stuff to figure out. About myself. About what this means for me. But I don't want to figure it out without you. My chest tightened in the best possible way. Yeah. Me either. He reached across the table, his hand finding mine. So, I guess what I'm asking is, can we try this? You and me. For real. I squeezed his hand. Yeah, we can try. His whole face lit up, this mix of relief and joy and nerves and excitement. Good, because I kinda don't want you going back to your place tonight. Oh no? I raised an eyebrow. Nah, he grinned. The house is better when you're in it. I laughed. Tyler, are you asking me to move in? He flushed, ears turning pink. Not officially. I mean, maybe eventually. But for now, just stay. Yeah, I said, smiling so wide it actually hurt. I'll stay. His hand tightened around mine. Good. Because I'm not letting you go. Not now. Not ever. I stood up, walked around the table, and pulled him up by the front of his hoodie. Good, I whispered. Because you're mine now. And then I kissed him. And it was everything.